Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. My name is Jamil, and today I'm going to be helping you through another leet code. So, on today's menu, we have leet code number 1913, maximum product difference between two pairs. Alright, so it's another company's question. That seems to be the trend recently, so allow me to take you through this question and show you the trick behind it and how to solve this. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the question. The product difference between two pairs A and B and C and D, okay, is defined as A times B minus C times D, okay? So for example, if we have the product difference between 5 and 6 and 2 and 7, 5 times 6 minus 2 times 7 is equal to 16, all right? So essentially what it becomes is 30 minus 14, and that's how you get 16, okay? So, given an integer array nums, choose 4 distinct indices, w, x, y, and z. So that means 4 different numbers, okay? Such that the product difference between pairs nums w, nums x, and nums y and nums z is maximized, okay? And return the maximum such product difference. So, it's kind of hard to understand what they're trying to say here, but essentially what they're trying to do is they want you to return the biggest difference, so the largest number that you can get by subtracting, 2 of the highest numbers and 2 of the lowest numbers, okay, multiplied by each other. So we'll see this in the example. We are given an input, which is going to be an array of numbers. So we have the array of numbers 5, 6, 2, 7, and 4. And our output is 34. So how did we get to that, right? Basically, we chose indices 1 and 3, which is 6 and 7, okay, to make the first pair, 6 and 7, and indices 2 and 4 to make the second pair, 2 and 4. And the difference is 6 and 7 minus 2 and 4. 6 times 7 minus 2 times 4, which equals 34. 6 times 7 is 42, 2 times 4 is 8, and then 42 minus 8 gives you 34. And that's how we come to that. Example number 2, we have 4, 2, 5, 9, 7, 4, and 8. Made up of mostly the same numbers as before, but our output is 64, and it's a little bit different this time. So let me explain why, right? We can choose the indices 3 and 6 for the first pair, right? Which represents 9 and 8, and then the indices 1 and 5 for the second pair, which is 2 and 4, okay? But they chose to do 1 and 5. You could have done, 0 and 1. There are 2 4s in the array, and they both end up being the same thing. And the product difference is 9 times 8, which is 72, minus 2 times 4, which is 8, and the difference is 64. Okay? Our array of numbers can be at least 4 numbers in length. Otherwise, we won't be able to solve the question. The question specifically asks for us to have 4 numbers in order to find a maximum difference. Because if you replace any of these numbers with 0, any number multiplied by 0 is 0, right? So, 4 minimum numbers to a maximum of 1,000 numbers. And our nums I is anywhere between, so the actual number itself can be anywhere between 1 digit up to, like the number 1 up to the number 1,000, okay? So we need to take that all into account. So, without further ado, let's start tackling the question. And I think you might be surprised to see how easy it may be because there is a simple trick to it. All right. So first, let's understand what we are being passed. So we are being passed an array of numbers. The array will not contain any strings, nested arrays, or objects. So we don't have to take into account any of that. Okay. We're just simply numbers, figure it out, return. Okay. Other than that, it doesn't really matter what we do to the array because we really just care for a value. So we care for a value. What does that mean? Return the value of the maximum difference from any 4 numbers in the array. Okay. And in here is basically where we will be applying the trick in order for us to come back with the answer. So let me go ahead and start explaining the trick to you because I'm going to give it away with my first line. take a look at this, okay? In our first example, 6 and 7 and 2 and 4, all right? When we are taking 6 and 7, and if we pay attention to our array of numbers, it is our largest two numbers. And when we take 2 and 4, we take a look at the same array, we notice that they are our two smallest numbers. We go back to the next example, 9 and 8. They happen to be the largest two numbers in our array. And 2 and 4 happen to be the smallest two numbers in our array. Notice how it didn't really matter, or it didn't really ask for the index, that the original index of the array, right? So that means that we can do a bunch of things to the array to make our lives easier just to come up with a solution, right? So if we're dealing with the largest two numbers and the smallest two numbers, what can we do in order to determine where the largest two numbers and the smallest two numbers fall? You know, we can sort our array in ascending order, right? And if we say, let's say, let new num, which is an array of numbers, equal to nums.sort, and nums.sort takes in two parameters, and it returns, if we do a minus b, this is in ascending order. If we do b minus a, it is in descending order. All right. Allow me to show you what happens here. So I'll console.log new num, and I will have to return 1 because of TypeScript, and the function is expecting us to return a number. And without completing this function, it will throw a fit. Okay? But let's pull this up here for a moment and take a look and see what's happening. So that same array, 5, 6, 2, 7, and 4, has now been sorted in ascending order, right? A minus B tells us ascending order. You want it descending order? Make it B minus A. And if we know that the trick is always going to be 4 numbers that we are taking into account, right after sorting the array, we can just pull out the numbers that we are looking for. So if you are familiar with arrays, what you can do is simply, we know it's going to be 2 numbers minus 2 numbers multiplied by each other, right? So if I take new num, and I say it's going to be the index of, you know, we're going to be looking for the number in the last index. So new num is going to be new num.length minus 1. And right, why do I say that? Like, why do I say new num and then new num.length minus 1? Well, new num.length returns a number, right? So if new num.length is, for this example, 5, and arrays start being indexed from the index of 0, if I was to say new num.length, right, it would reduce to new num of 5, right? Which we know, well, hopefully we know that it doesn't exist in this array because this is index number 0, index number 1, index number 2, 3, the number 7 is the number 3, and then the number 4 is the 4th index. Number 5 actually falls outside of our index, which is why I want to say it's 5 minus 1, right? And if we go back, we say instead of 5, we'll just say new num.length, because those are the same thing, minus 1. We get to the number, well, in this case, 7, right? And for the sake of simplicity, new num, and it's new num.length minus 1. And I'll do the same thing, but show you, instead of 1, I will do 2. Okay? I'll just copy this and subtract this from here. And in the same vein, I want to subtract the product, not the subtraction, but the product of the first 2 numbers. So it's going to be new num 1 minus new num 0. Okay? And I'll actually, you know what? I'll do this. New num 0 and new num of 1. Okay? Let's take a look at this and see what we come back with. output was 40, expected 34. So something is wrong in our example, but I'll take a look at that and see here in a moment. But take a look at this. 7, 6, 2, and 4, right? 7, 6, 2, and 4. They are multiplied by each other, right? Those are the numbers that we were expecting. In case number 2, 9, 8, 2, and 4, also the numbers that we are expecting. But I guess my math is wrong. So let's try and figure out where my math went wrong. It is because that is a negative instead of a multiplication, right? Perfect. But essentially, line number 9 can be reduced to, this is for example number 1 specifically, okay? This is 7. This is 6. This is 4. And this is 2, okay? It's saying the exact same thing. These are just references to the array num, and then num.length is minus a number is the index in which it shows up. Okay? Perfect. Cool. So our tests seem to be working. I am going to take this out because I don't want to continue console logging all of this, but then I'm going to submit my answer. And voila, there we go. It works. It was a simple trick, right? All we needed to really, if you know a little bit about math, you can start to see like where, you know, these simple tricks and tips and like patterns will help make your life a little bit easier. Please keep in mind that sorting in JavaScript isn't the most efficient method. However, for the sake of this answer and being able to pass an interview, you might not want to come up with the best solution up front, but then talk about, you know, better solutions in your interview and how you would improve on your code. So if you want to do that, what I would suggest you do is if you go through the solutions tab here on LeetCode and you press a tag, you know, JavaScript, for example, because we're working in TypeScript, right? You can go through all of these and try to begin, and like you'll find some beginner friendly solutions that may improve on the code that I built here. Hopefully the code that I built here helped you understand and grasp the question, and you can go from there and figure out you know, how to improve on it. But that's all I have for you here today. Once again, my name is Jamil. Thank you so much for tuning into the video today, and I'll see you next video.